Hello everyone, my name is Noxwar, and I'm going to be breaking down FlyQuest's possible new mid laner, Toucouille, a French mid laner who's been playing in the French National League, the LFL. Right now, the general community sentiment revolving around Toucouille seems to be cautiously optimistic, which, after watching all 18 of his games from LFL Summer, I would say is appropriate. A lot of this optimism comes from looking at his stats from Summer, where he has multiple categories where he's considered in the top 2 for his position in that league. Categories such as kill participation, second, percentage of a team's kill share, first, goal difference at 10 minutes, first, and experience difference at 10 minutes, second, etc. Stats don't always tell the full picture though, and that's why I wanted to dive into these games themselves to see what was actually happening. The first big thing that I truly want to highlight is that Toucouille has a very solid lane phase, which would make sense with some of the stats that I just listed a second ago. With only having 3 games the entire season where he did not have control of his lane due to his own gameplay, Toucouille forced his opponent mid laner to consistently be shoved into the turret for the majority of his other games. This prevented his opponent from having access to the map to attempt proactive plays, as well as having to react to Toucouille's roams towards the bot lane. A quick stat that I want to pair this fact with is that Toucouille does this with a 33% counter pick rate, last in the LFL. Meaning that in only a third of his games did he pick his champion after the opposing mid laner. Simply put, Toucouille isn't getting these winning lanes just due to advantageous lane matchups, but through actual laning. Something of note is that Toucouille did have a fair amount of resources sent his way in the mid lane whenever things were not going in his favor. In the games where he was not winning, or had lane states where the wave was constantly shoved into him, more often than not, Toucouille's jungler and support would be there, so he would be able to shove it back and regain control of the lane. This will be something to keep an eye on in the LCS, and whether he will require resources to be able to carry still if the early game doesn't go his way, or if he can manage to bounce back on his own and bring himself back into the game. The real question, though, now becomes, how well did he transition his leads? I said a moment ago that Toucouille typically roamed to the bot side off of getting a wave shoved into the opposing mid laner's turret, but this doesn't always mean that he was ganking. These roams usually resulted in the opposing bot lane backing off, re-establishing his own bot lane's presence in the lane, or giving them the lane advantage. While this is not a bad thing, it also somewhat resulted in the opposing mid laner stabilizing instead of continuing to just flounder. Usually this ended up with Toucouille having only small leads instead of large ones, and more than a few times of the summer split, there were moments where I was watching these games and I thought, if he played a tad more selfishly and ballooned his lead more, he could have carried these games to a win instead of a loss. Expanding more into the mid game though, Toucouille does have a solid sense of macro, which for FlyQuest fans is a great sign after the 2021 season that just happened. He showed in a couple different games during the summer that he can juggle multiple lane waves at once, causing side lane pressure that the enemies have to respond to at inopportune times. Pair this with the fact that he showed great teleport usage repeatedly to make it to critical fights, ganks, instabilized lane states. He should be a great voice for the team to dictate what needs to be done on the map. The last thing I really want to bring up is that over the course of the 18 games that I watched, it really looked like Toucouille was improving, or at the very least synergizing with his team more. I don't think Toucouille is anywhere near his peak, which should be exciting. Fans will be able to watch him progressively get better as the year goes on while he plays at LCS level mids, and not just LFL ones. To wrap this up, and to put a nice bow on it, Toucouille has the potential to be good. He shows good laning, understands where he needs to be on the map, and consistently has presence in the games that he's in. The only thing fans should really keep an eye on is how he does against LCS level mids, and whether he can continue to obtain those leads that he was repeatedly getting in the LFL. If he can get those leads and increase his level of agency in creating winning game states, FlyQuest may be looking at a deep run this year. Thank you to everyone who's listening. Please go check out FlightCheck, a fan podcast dedicated to FlyQuest. We do a show every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern or 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Hopefully I'll see you guys there, and I will see you all in the new year.